Hey there, I'm Mitch Goldberg. Thank you so much for joining me. You're watching my live stream, Be the Boss of Your Money. It's a show about money, all things money, taking control of your money, answering your questions about money, from investing to how to invest, where to invest, how do the markets work. We talk a lot about financial planning and so many topics, sending your kids to college, social security claiming strategies, and more. So I encourage you to check back here often. Keep an eye out for the show. And if you're watching during the live stream, great. If you watch in the replay, that's great too. Once I make these videos, they're on my timeline for good. They're on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, so you can always catch them. And almost every day, I post typically a 45 to 60-second educational snippet from a clip of the video the night before. So always check in. I'm always making good points. I hope I'm always making good points. That's up to you. If you do think I'm making good points, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, an applause, depending on which reaction is available to you, depending on which platform you're watching on. With that said, let's get into the show. We're going to talk about really important things about Social Security. I talk to clients about this all the time, about claiming early, or the thought that, well, there's not going to be any money left for me by the time I retire, or you have to live a certain amount of time. Is it an investment? Is it for income? We'll talk about that and how to decide when, one way about claiming when you should claim. And then we'll just get into a little bit about the 4% withdrawal rule. It's been going around forever, but if you just withdraw 4% of your money from your investment portfolios, it's designed to help your portfolios last 30 years. It's made for the 30-year retirement. But like all things, there's no set in stone rule, and it all depends on a myriad of factors like your health and your tax situation. With that said, let's roll the intro and we're going to get into it. So please stay tuned. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Mitch Goldberg. If you have any questions about what we're talking about today or anything about personal finance and investing, ask me in the comments. I love hearing from you. It's the best part about doing this. I will get back to you. And if you watch us during the replay or the live stream, it's the same thing. I will see your comments, whether if you're watching a replay or not. And these shows are always on my timeline. So please check back to my LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube timelines. You'll always find something, and we talk about the latest. Sometimes we talk about something, an old myth that we need to just break once and for all. But the idea is to help you take control of your money so that you could take control of your future. It's hard to take control, but there are a couple of things that you can do to do that. We're going to talk first, though, about Social Security. Now, just a stat that we saw today. A nationwide survey said that something like 75% of adults 50 and up believe Social Security will run out in their lifetime, according to a nationwide, the insurance company, Nationwide Retirement Institute survey. And what that means is a lot of people have a misconception about how Social Security works. There's two components to the funding, okay? There's the taxable part. There's the part that collects money from your Social Security tax, 6.2% of your income, up to about $185,000 or so. And then your employer matches that 6.2%. So everyone who's making money on the books is contributing via the employer and the employee of a 12.4% of that money into Social Security. That's called payroll tax, Social Security, okay? So that is really important to understand. So that's not running out. But in 10 years or so, the Social Security Trust Fund could be depleted. What does that mean? There are two ways that Social Security pays out the beneficiaries. The first way is through payroll tax. Okay, you pay tax for Social Security, and so does your employer, and that money goes into the Social Security fund, and then that money is paid out to the people who are receiving Social Security, the beneficiaries. The other way that it pays is through what's called the Social Security Trust Fund. That pays, the Social Security Trust Fund pays about 20% of the benefit for people who are receiving Social Security today. That is expected to run out of money in about 10 years. It was about 8 years, but the economy is doing better. More people are working, so more people are putting money into it. So it's been extended up to 10 years. But still, 10 years, as we all know when it comes to financial planning, is actually a pretty short time frame. But that doesn't mean all your money is lost in Social Security. The payroll tax portion is still going to exist. So what that means in 10 years is that there is potential that beneficiaries could see a roughly 20%, give or take, maybe 22 or 24% cut to their expected Social Security benefit. Okay, it's a reduction. And I'm not saying it's not substantial. It is. I would hate to go through that. But it doesn't mean all of the Social Security money that you're getting is not going to be there for you. About 80% of it will be. But people are claiming Social Security, and I'll use the term early, and they're getting reduced benefits for the rest of their life, and possibly reducing benefits for their spouse for the rest of their life because of a narrative, that a false narrative, a myth, that Social Security is going to completely drop and there's going to be nothing paid out in 10 years. So it still behooves you to possibly wait for you to collect in your Social Security. So right now, if you're born after 1960, your full retirement age is the age of 67. So I was born after 1960. So most of the people watching me on social media are born 1960 and later. So let's just use the full retirement age of 67 in this example. So it means that if, let's say your benefit was $2,000 at the age of 67, that's called full retirement age. I don't know where these names, I do know where the names came up, but I think we need to change the language that we use to talk about Social Security. And you get extra benefit up to the age of 70. So if you wait to claim till age 68, 69, and 70 for each year, you get an automatic 8% raise in your Social Security payout. Now, I don't know where else you could get that kind of guarantee. Plus, you get cost of living adjustments on top of that. So every year, Social Security, the Social Security Administration, SSA.gov, if you want to check it out, adjusts payouts higher for inflation. If inflation goes down, they do not adjust the beneficiary amounts lower, only up if there's inflation. So not only would you be getting an increased payout, but you'd be collecting a payout on top in Social Security. Now, if you already claimed Social Security at, let's say, age 62, you're still getting the benefit of the COLAs, the cost of living adjustments. Everybody gets that, whether if you claimed or not. Even me, I'm still in my 50s, I'm still going to enjoy the benefit of today's cost of living adjustments for when I collect my Social Security. What am I planning to do for Social Security, you ask? Well, as of now, I'm planning to wait until I turn 70. But I'm 56. Knock on wood, we'll see what happens with my health. If anything changes my life expectancy for the worse, then I'll have to consider collecting earlier. So this is what makes Social Security a gamble. If you wait till 70 and you get hit by the proverbial bus the next day, you would have gotten one payout from Social Security, and that's the end of it. So people say, why don't I collect at 62? So let's just counter this. One reason people collect young, and this is the myth, is they think Social Security will not exist over the next maybe 10 years or so. That's a myth. I sure hope Congress gets together and does something about Social Security. And what they have to do is either raise the age at which people can collect it, offer an incentive to people to collect later in life, or raise Social Security, raise taxes, raise payroll taxes to raise the amount of income coming into Social Security. There's a number of ways to do that. Maybe people who make a certain amount of money or higher will pay a little bit more. There's a number of ways to do it, none of which are going to be palatable to anybody, and that's why a compromise is going to be needed. No, we shouldn't raise the age. That's like decreasing people's benefits that they've worked so hard for their whole life. Or you could say, no, we need to do that because people are living longer. People collect Medicare at the age of 64. It depends on how old you are. So these are the things that we need to take a look at. Now, it's not my job to determine what Congress does, but it is all of our jobs to hold our congressmen and women to the fire and say, fix Social Security. If you raise the age limit or raise the taxes, it affects people who are younger than us, younger than 50. Us, I mean, we're all us in this show. I'm not trying to delineate between you if you're under 50, over 50. I apologize. We're all in this together. Okay, I don't mean to be divisive, okay? But it is a divisive topic. That's why Social Security is often referred to as the third rail of politics. If you don't know this, train tracks have two tracks, but there's a third track called the third rail, and that's electrified. So that's where trains get their electricity to run. And if you touch that third rail, you go zap, and you get electrocuted instantaneously. Okay, you become a piece of charred meat on the railroad. So don't touch that. And that's what Social Security is like, the third rail of politics. That's a real expression. Google it if you want. So I want to show you something real quick here. This is from, I'll show you who this is from. Okay, this is from the Bipartisan Policy Center. It's Social Security Claiming Age, Importance, Claiming Behavior, and Trends. It was released earlier this year, all right? So let's take a look at a chart here. So if can you see that okay? Let me make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to have another show on this because it's a lot to talk about. But if the full benefit right now is, in this example, $2,000, if you collect when you're 62, you only get $1,400. That's a big difference. Now, if you make a lot of money, you might think, well, what the hell is $600 a month? It's no big deal. But for most Americans, that is a big deal. That's $600 per month, because $7,200 a year. It's a big deal. By delaying it a couple of months, a couple of years, you could keep getting a bigger benefit. And if you can delay it from age 67, where you would get the $2,000, if you could delay that until you're 70, you get almost $2,500 plus cost of living adjustments. So we want people to recognize this, because the overwhelming minority of citizenry waits until they're 70 to collect Social Security. But they could be cheating themselves in their old age. So you see this? 10% of people wait till they're 70. All right, 10%. 29%, the biggest amount, collect when they're 62 for the reduced benefit. A lot of people wait till they're 65 and over, because that's when they start collecting Medicare. So they figure, I'll retire when I'm eligible for Medicare. And that's fine, as long as you understand what the cost is to delay. Now, I know there's two ways to look at this. Well, you could say I would have to live until like I'm 80 or higher to make up for the difference, because if I collect a lower payment from the age of 62 to 70, that's 8 years of getting paid. Okay. And then you go to 70. I've already collected 8 years, and you're waiting until you're 70. Now, if you collect at 70, you're going to have to get that higher amount for over 10 years to make up the difference. So if you think your life expectancy is going to be under 80, then it does pay to collect earlier. If you think your life expectancy is longer, then it doesn't pay to collect earlier. There is no way to know exactly what your life expectancy is, which is why it's a gamble. But if you look at it like a gamble or as an investment, it may behoove you to collect at a younger age. It's 62, 63, 64, but not wait until you're 70. If you look at it as, well, all I really care about is maximizing my income in retirement, which is how this was originally set up. That's what that's what Social Security was supposed to be about. Then it behooves you to wait till you're 70. So for my interests, I'm looking to collect Social Security because I just want to maximize what I'm earning after the age of 70. But my friend, I'm not going to name his name, but he collected Social Security recently and he's 62. And he said, I don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. I might get a reduced benefit. And if in 10 years the benefit is reduced, then you'd have to live to like 90 or older to get the full benefit. And I understand the thinking, although I firmly believe that Social Security will be tied up, wrapped up, and taken care of by the time that happens. But there's no guarantee it does happen. And this is why it's such a personal decision about collecting Social Security. So I don't knock you for collecting at 62 as opposed to 65 or 70. But I do want you to go in with your eyes open and make a decision that's best for your situation. This is something that my partner and I, Bobby Bird, and I will help you to think about. We will help you think in the right way for your personal situation. So these are some of the reasons we talk about Social Security all the time in our planning with clients. We even have calculators and things like that to help clients assess. Now, let's take a look at the 4% rule. Majority of U.S., that's not it. Okay, is that what I was looking for? Yes, it is. Majority of adults with Social Security benefits will dry up in their lifetime. So this is something we've been talking about already. But how does it affect the 4% rule? Okay, so let's talk about that. There was a financial advisor in the 90s. I forget his name. I need to talk more about this guy, but he did us a favor. He back tested portfolios through different up and down markets. It was pretty extensive. A financial advisor did this, okay? Not a data scientist, not a financial, not a professor of finance, just a financial advisor. So I'm really proud of this, okay? I'm very proud of this. And he came out with a number that said if you only withdraw no more than 4% of your total portfolio to help pay for your living expenses when you retire, your portfolio should last you 30 years. It's not a forever number, but it's a 30-year number. And he's back tested it throughout different kinds of markets and returns, and that's the number he's come up with. Here's how I look at the 4% rule, the 4% distribution or withdrawal rate of your overall investments to last you the rest of your life when you retire. It's a benchmark, not a hard and fast rule. Because if you have $1 million in a regular brokerage account, you take 4% out, well, is that based on 4% from dividend income or interest income, which are taxed differently? Is it money that's taken from selling securities because you made money on long-term capital gains, which you may have made money on long-term capital gains, which is taxed at a lower rate than income tax, than your income is taxed? And is your money, maybe that $1 million is in a retirement plan? So that $40,000 is all taxable. So if you need $40,000 to help you live, to pay your expenses in retirement, in that retirement account, you might have to take $50,000 out or $60,000 out, depending on the state you live in and depending on your overall tax situation. So it's not so simple as just taking 4% out and your money will last you for the rest of your life. It depends. Are you getting that money from an annuity, which is not giving you an inflation raise, a cost of living adjustment? Is it coming from a Roth IRA, a health savings account, a taxable IRA, right? Traditional IRA, or just a regular brokerage account? So this is why I look at the 4% distribution rate of your portfolio, the 4% withdrawal rate, as a benchmark. I don't look at it as a rule. Kind of like how we look at the S&P 500 as our benchmark for investing. By the way, you cannot invest directly into an index, but you can invest into a security that tracks or mimics an index. So I look at the 4% withdrawal rate as a benchmark, as a place to get started. But it certainly is not an ending. And that, again, is what puts the personal to personal finance. Maybe early in your retirement years, you want to take money out of a Roth IRA, or a regular brokerage account, and later on take money out from a traditional IRA. And it also depends on what your estate plans are. It also depends if you're leaving any money for future generations. And it could also depend if you're planning on using that money for nursing home care, things like that. So there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why I don't live and die based on the 4%. It's like a tongue twister, on the 4% withdrawal rate. It needs a lot more discussion and a lot more thought than just that simple little math question. Plus, markets could go up or down, which could also affect the rate of which you can withdraw from your portfolio to turn your money into cash for expenses in retirement. That's the show today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this material, or if you'd like to have a discussion on what's best for you when you retire, or if you're in retirement, you know where to reach me. I'm all over social, clientfirststrategy.com. With that said, have a good rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining me.